Does Brian Michael Bendis have a really good take on Victor Von Doom as Iron Man? Let's take a look and see what's up. What's up, everybody? I'm Stan, and welcome to Detail Comics, where we go over comics in detail. This review is about Infamous Iron Man #1, and Infamous Iron Man #1 is an interesting book because this is really a takeoff of the results of Civil War II, and Civil War II was scheduled to end today. This is when the last issue was supposed to drop, October 19th. And what we run into is that this storyline is supposed to be a continuation from that. And immediately, right off the bat, you get a gigantic spoiler for how Civil War II as a conflict is going to end. And that's really frustrating. I'm not going to really, I'm going to spoil it. I'm going to spoil it right now because this is a review of the book. As the result of Civil War II, Tony Stark has passed away, his body unfortunately unable to be living. However, he did download his consciousness into his computer, an AI that is essentially the essence of Tony Stark. So we still get the character and most of the characterization, since his thought patterns and how he would act are programmed in the computer to kind of coincide with his AI. And that's how we're going to get Tony Stark interacting with both Riri Williams in Invincible Iron Man and Victor Von Doom in Infamous Iron Man. Okay, so now that we're done with the spoiler aspect of this story, I have to say that I was expecting more out of Victor Von Doom. I thought that he was as a really kind of spotty character inside Invincible Iron Man, he would come in, he would be mystical, he would be kind of vanishing at that point in time. He was very much a spectral kind of character that always kind of worked in the background and didn't necessarily stick around a whole hell of a lot. However, what we get in this is that we see the first 5 pages or so, Doom being Doom. In some respects. So while Doom normally has a little bit more flair, a little bit more flash, he feels like a little bit more condescension. We get the condescension, but we don't necessarily get some of those character aspects. Because if you've followed along with, say, Fantastic Four or up to Secret Wars, the Jonathan Hickman run, that was a very different kind of portrayal of Doom. Because Doom as a person, from his fundamental level, really sees himself as better than pretty much everybody. People should aspire to be Doom, even though it is unfortunately not something that he'd be capable of. And that's how we ended up in the Secret War situation with God King Doom ruling over Battleworld. Unfortunately, what we see here is a little bit far removed from what God King Doom would have been. If you remember correctly, he was talking with Valeria Richards, and he's just like, hey, I've been a god, and to be honest with you, I found it beneath me. That level of arrogance is what characterizes Victor Von Doom. And you've got to wonder whether Brian Michael Bendis is going to give us a reason why he feels so much more humble, he feels so much more kind of plain than what we would normally expect out of Victor Von Doom. I can't really criticize the first issue too much because it's not giving him enough time to relay the premise. Brian Michael Bendis is a very good character writer. He writes very intriguing kind of roles for small casts. Civil War II is really showing some of the weaknesses in his overall scope because he's not really handling the individual characters, since they're spread so thin, in a great way. But if you look at the individual characteristics of the Invincible Iron Man book, the Spider-Man book, they're very personal stories and they really resonate in those factors. And I hope that there's going to be more of that. And if he gives us an idea as to why there's that self-reflection, and then possibly a return to that kind of self-aggrandizing, egoistic situation with Doom as this new Iron Man, I would really hope for that kind of turn. Infamous Iron Man is something that I was highly anticipating, and you know what? It's okay. It's better than what it could have been, and it's a little bit less than what I would have expected. But ultimately, I feel like it's a good starting place for an ongoing story that we can really explore the character. I'm just hoping that he brings back a little bit more of the Doom from before Secret Wars to kind of integrate into that as Victor gets into his, stride. That's really what my hope is. As far as the art's concerned, it's very consistent with what Brian Michael Bendis' books look like. I wouldn't necessarily say that it's stellar, I wouldn't say that it's standout, but it definitely fills in the gaps. It fits into the world that he was in. Infamous Iron Man is a good place to start. It's not necessarily a world beater of a title. It spoils one of the largest events that Marvel is going on right now, which has unfortunately been delayed for 6 weeks, so it shouldn't have been a problem to begin with. It's just really an indication of how Marvel's a little bit hodgy-podgy right now. And I hate to say that because I'm a fan of everybody, and I want them all to succeed. So that's my review of Infamous Iron Man #1, but I want to know what you guys thought about it too, so hit me up in the comments down below, and I'm more than happy to start that chat with you guys. As always, if you like what you see, hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to get more news, reviews, and commentary on comic books, comic book movies, comic book TV shows and games, and anything and everything inside the world of comics.